With the arrival of the boys and their toys in 1945, the American military literally set to work with a vengeance. And by June 1948, Wernher von Braun and his newly formed team of German and American rocket scientists were ready to use the V-2 rocket to launch small monkeys and later chimpanzees in the 1950s into space. These early launches were to experiment with the then unknown effects of space flight dynamics on living organisms. This first series of tests was called Project Blossom. That's from a really good book called Dark Moon, Apollo and the Whistleblowers by Mary Bennett and David S. Percy. A very well done book, and it has a rather unique take on the Apollo program. Hello and welcome to another edition of the Stench of Truth. Still trying to get my pipes back from whatever kind of sickness I had. So if my voice breaks up or cracks up or anything, my apologies. I want to thank everybody who's been listening to the radio show on our new home at InceptionRadioNetwork.com. The radio show is on the paranormal and occult, parapolitical, that sort of thing. So if you have an interest, check it out. This week my guest is going to be Mike Clelland, and he does a podcast and has a blog called Hidden Experience. And he has had some rather interesting experiences in his life that led him to do some research into the paranormal and UFOs. And that got him started doing a podcast where he talks to researchers such in much the same way as I do. So, and his blog too as well. So, if you have an interest, check it out and have a listen. You can download his shows from his website, and I'll highly recommend him. So, if you're interested, I'm going to be talking to him this Friday from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time on InceptionRadioNetwork.com, and the show is The Stench of Truth. Anyway, there's no one particular issue that I wanted to comment on. So what instead I'm going to do is I'm going to comment on a number of things that have happened over the last couple of days of interest. Of course, one of the main things in the circus sideshow of America is the continued non-talks in secret about raising the debt ceiling. And we have already heard that the president has handed over certain concessions regarding Social Security and Medicare. So as far as I'm concerned, my prediction has already come true, because this is being reported in mainstream news that the fucking piece of shit, the fucking Wall Street fucking shill Obama has already handed over Social Security and Medicare, and they do not have a deal, as if there is any actual dealing to be done. The parade of clown-like buffoons and fucking assholes is astonishing. But on the play that is America, that is going on right now, we do not have the usual course of events. What we have is we have a radical right group of people who are so clownishly and buffoonishly on the right that they act like caricatures of their own fucking selves. That's how canted this whole thing is. And that's how I know it's no way measuring any kind of fucking reality. It can't be, because these things don't exist except maybe on Bizarro World, where everything is all out of fucking whack. You have Eric Cantor, who apparently now is the main guy, the big squeeze, the big dude, the guy who's making all the noise and the debt talks, who has significant money invested in a hedge fund which is shorting United States securities, which would make him money if the U.S. defaults. But this is just a shadow play, you understand. It's just a shadow play. It's all meaningless. Politics is useless. It's put on for a sideshow. It's supposed to be high drama. Oh, we got to get them Democrats to support us. And now all of a sudden, progressive Nancy Pelosi, who, with very meticulous wording, says, we will not support any cuts to Medicare and Social Security. And then follows that with, we have always been clear that any changes to Medicare and Social Security should be for strengthening those programs. So that means that that she will support cutting Medicare and Social Security as long as she can couch it and frame it as strengthening the programs, which presumably is what Obama did under her fucking watch as Speaker of the fucking House when he cut $500 motherfucking billion out of Medicare. So you have the left that doesn't even do anything anymore. Well, apparently they've abandoned this Hegelian dialectic of having the two opposing sides, and instead what you have is you have the right, the radical right clowns who couldn't exist in a normal world, and then you have the supposed left is actually in the center, so that any compromise is on the far right. And I've talked about this before, but it's more buffoonish, more clown-like, and more like a fucking bad movie every day. And John Boehner, apparently the only thing he can do with any kind of regularity is to bawl and cry, because he isn't doing a fucking thing else, which I guess is his role in this. He's the buffoonish dude who has the too much tan, who cries all the time because he's in touch with his inner woman who also hates poor people and seniors and wants to gut and cut everything. And then you have Michelle Bachmann, who is like she's a caricature of like Sarah Palin and Mrs. Satan, who has the nerve to call herself a Christian, which should make all Christians denounce her. Because apparently she will sign anything that any group that has the word conservative or family in their title, she will sign any petition, pact, pledge, or anything that they shove under her nose, as long as her old man tells her to do it. And since she's in this marriage where supposedly she's completely submissive to her husband, who's actually going to be president if you elect Michelle Bachmann? Her or her husband, the dude who does the ex-gay therapy and gets money from the federal government, but complains about the federal government giving money to people even though they accept it and have been accepting and are benefiting from it. Do you see how buffoonish this is? I think a lot of people have hit a point of inertia where they can't decide on the kabuki play. But there's also some other factors involved here. There's all this catastrophe in the weather. Okay? And there's a lot of people who talk about all of these different, scenarios about how the end of the world and doom is coming to us. How Elenin is going to come flying in and crash everything up. So who cares about anything else? And Nibiru's coming back. Oh yeah, Planet X is going to destroy everything. Oh no, it's the New Madrid fault line. It's going to have a giant earthquake on it. And all this flooding probably caused by HAARP or something else. Who the fuck knows? I got news for you, okay? None of those fucking things are going to happen. Elenin is just a comet. There's nothing else behind it. There's no fleet of fucking spaceships. Okay? If you're a cult sitting out there and waiting to be dragged off this fucking sphere, I got news for you. You're going to have to take the heavens fucking gateway. Because there ain't nothing coming to save your fucking ass. It's just a comet. It's going to go around the sun and it's going to leave. And as for Planet X, well, it might be there. I certainly don't know. And it might actually have a rather long orbit and only come around us every once in a while. But not going to do nothing. No big catastrophes. And guess what? Floods and earthquakes and shit like that just happen sometimes. That's what nature does. It does that. It causes floods. It causes fucking earthquakes. So lay off with the fucking HAARP already. So any of you are thinking that there's some sort of end time scenario playing out here, and why should you give a fuck about anything? Wake the fuck up. Because it ain't gonna fucking happen. I told you before, there's no political solution because we don't have any kind of politics in this country. It's all a fucking theater, a sideshow of freaks and fucking clowns. If you want to take matters into your own hands and try to affect change, then that's your decision. And I'm not talking about being active against the government, because it's useless. Totally and completely useless, 100% and totally fucking useless. Let me spell things out for you, okay? The poor are getting poorer. Job losses continue. Unemployment is going up, okay? We have been told that the recession is over for, what, a year and a half? Okay? Now listen very clearly to me, okay? Corporation profits are up. Wages are down. Unemployment is up. There are more poor, more people dependent on these social programs that the president is willing and able and ready to fucking gut and cut, because he does not give a shit about anybody except himself and whoever it is that's blackmailing him. Because he's on the payroll of Wall Street and the banks, just like everybody else is. Okay? So, do anything against them. Useless. Beyond useless. All these corporations, Wall Street bankers, all their profits are up. Hugely! We're not even talking a little bit. We're talking massively. Okay? Where's all that wealth gone? Where's all the bailout money gone? $13 trillion. Has that made its way anywhere? There were no big programs in the stimulus package. There should have been big, giant programs. Like building fucking dams. Like building power stations. No, that was all frittered away on bullshit and nonsense. That's why the stimulus failed, because it wasn't even a stimulus. It was a joke. It was a joke. You want to spend money on infrastructure in this country, spend $1 trillion, at least. At least. You probably need 5 or 6. And you start building all the new shit that we need in this country to get it back up to 21st century fucking standards. That means whole new water plants. Dig up all the old water lines, all the old gas lines, and put new ones in. That's the kind of fucking infrastructure work you need for stimulus to fucking work. But I'm getting sidetracked from my point. I'm sorry. All of that money, all of the bailout money, all of the stimulus money is sitting in the banks. The banks themselves own it, or corporations and rich people own it. It's simple as that. The $13 trillion was a giveaway to the rich, to corporations and banks. And nobody else has benefited at all not only have they not benefited, but they have largely lost in this continuing recession for everybody but the rich. So if they're not trying to foment class warfare in this country, they're succeeding at it anyway, whether they want to or not. And I think maybe the global cataclysm of the economic crash has gotten beyond the ability of these people to manipulate and shape. And it may be that their eyes on a global currency and this complete globalization idea may fall apart. Because if the EU falls apart, then it's going to be a bunch of fractionalized currencies and balkanized power structure just like it was before. And I don't think that's a bad thing, necessarily. In fact, I tend to think it's probably a good thing in the long run. But even that's not set in stone. Even the economic crash that everybody's predicting, even that is not set in stone. So I guess my message is just quit sitting around waiting for Elenin to come smash in, waiting for Nibiru to destroy, waiting for HAARP to make a flood come and flood you out, or waiting for them to manufacture an earthquake with atomic weapons to destroy everything. If you want anything to happen, you got to do it yourself. It's as simple as that. You can't wait for activists to do anything, the supposed activist community, because what have they done? They haven't done a fucking thing. And as far as like being anti-Obama, for people who still supported him up to now, there's no convincing them that he's a Wall Street puppet and that he's giving everything away to the rich corporations and banks who are tearing this place apart in an effort to get as much for themselves as they can, while everybody else is shoved out onto the sharecropper field to be a serf. And hopefully, maybe the master will look your way one day, maybe throw you, like an extra loaf of bread or something while you're on the unemployment line, sleeping under an underpass that's falling apart because there's no money to fix it. Or it's glistening brand new, but it's run by XYZ Corporation, and you have to pay $50 to drive on it. Take your pick. Pay no attention to this political sideshow, because that's all it is. It's a huge movie. We're living in Truman Show. It's a reality TV series called The United States of Fucking America. You can't even make this shit up. If a scriptwriter came into Hollywood with the shit that's going on in this country today and tried to present it as a piece of fucking fiction, it'd probably be laughed out of the fucking office. What? This? You've got to be kidding me. And yet that's what we're presented as reality. What can you say? Thank you. Good night.